Hi you guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to be talking all about journaling. We're just going to be covering a few different things as far as what journaling is, how it's helped me, different ways to do it, different prompts that you can follow, and just some tips and tricks. I put a little question box on Instagram a couple days ago and got a pretty large response, but a lot of them were pretty similar, so I'm going to try to touch on the most frequently asked things in this video. So without further ado, let's jump right into this video, and if you like it, don't forget to leave it a thumbs up, drop a comment, and subscribe down below so you don't miss any more of my videos. So something I just want to touch on before we really dive into this video is the fact that we all have brains, which means we all have mental health. That doesn't necessarily mean that we all have mental health issues, but we do have mental health to keep up with. Just like we have a body, which means we have physical health to worry about, we have brains, which means we have mental health to worry about. So even if you don't think that you have mental health problems or have never struggled with anything like that before, that doesn't mean that journaling cannot help you. There are a lot of underlying things, and it might not be necessarily a mental health issue. It might just be a habit or a behavior that you have that you picked up when you were very young that affects your daily life now. And I'm going to talk more about that later when I talk about different prompts, but I just think it's really important to remember that no matter who you are and where you come from and what your life experiences are, you have mental health, and it's important to check in with yourself, ask yourself how you're doing. We're so quick to text our loved ones and say, how's your day going? What are you up to? How have you been? But we never really do that to ourselves, and that wasn't something I started really doing until about 5 or 6 months ago, and it's really helped me with my mental health. Not my mental health issues, just keeping good, positive mental health. And yeah, I just want to touch on that because I think when people say mental health, there's such a stigma around it, saying like, oh, there's something wrong with you. No, we all have mental health, and it's something we all should be worrying about, and you cannot have physical health without mental health. You can't have mental health without physical health. It is so intertwined that it's just a really important thing, and I didn't want to not touch on that before I started this whole video. So yeah, that's it. Now we can get into the whole journaling 101. Okay, getting started, I have a whole list of things in my journal that I'm going to talk about in this video, and 9 times out of 10, actually I think this is the only time I've ever written in this journal that hasn't been like a true journal entry. But I had a call with Gymshark earlier today and had a couple things that I had to write down so I wouldn't forget them, and then I just started mapping out all the things for this video. But I got this journal a couple months ago. It says the world is waiting. It was like $10. I got it from Target. It is completely blank on the inside. I mean, I have some pages filled out, but like there's no prompts or anything. It is just a plain journal. So if you are interested in journaling, I suggest just going to Marshall's or TJ Maxx, Target, getting a cheap journal, or you can literally, I don't have one right by me, but you can literally just get like a 5-star notebook that works perfectly fine. But yeah, this is my daily journal. I do this every single morning, and I used to do a gratitude journal every morning. I probably do it about 5 times a week now. I'm actually going to grab it so I can show you that, because that is one of the things that I want to touch on in this video, and that is the different types of journaling. So let me find my notes. So the journaling that I do, like I said, is just a prompt like this. I don't want you guys to read what I write in my journal because it is very personal, and it is a lot of the stuff that I am working through that I don't share on social media, and a lot of like my personal life stuff. So we're not going to be diving too deep into my journal today, but I'm going to show you guys or teach you guys the things that I do, I found most beneficial, different prompts that I love to use, and yeah. But I'm going to show you my gratitude journal real quick before we jump into that. So this is my gratitude journal. I briefly touched on it in my previous YouTube video, I believe, but it is called the 5-minute journal, and mine has coffee stains on it because I journal in the morning. But I'll show you guys an empty page. There's a nice little quote at the top always. Put the date, nice little quote, and then you start with 3 things that you're grateful for, 3 things that would make the day great, and a daily affirmation. You do this half in the morning, and then at night you write 3 things that went well that day and how you could have made it better. And it's just a nice little way to check in with yourself and do some daily gratitude, because that is very, very important. And I find that when I do this, it really just sets the tone for a positive day. And then when I go to bed, it's just a nice way to like recap and just reflect on the good things that happened that day, especially when I'm having a stressful day. It's so easy for me to focus on the negatives, that using that has really helped me just start to focus on the positives during my everyday life. And I also like get really excited when something good happens. I'm like, oh my God, I can't wait to write this out on my journal later. So this is the first thing I ever journaled with. I got it at Urban Outfitters and it was $24.95. The sticker's kind of scratched off, but if you're looking for these, you can order them online, or they have them at most Urban Outfitters. I've seen them at like all the ones that I go to in their little book section. So if you're just trying to get into journaling and you're not really sure where to start and this video is a little confusing for you, I definitely recommend checking one of these out. And there are plenty of gratitude journals. You don't have to get this one, but this is the one that I have and I really enjoy using it. Then there's also something called bullet journaling, which I'm not too familiar with and I don't use it. I read a couple articles on it before I made this video, just so I didn't sound too uneducated about it. But basically what it is just writing short little phrases, prompts, or just short little bullets, basically, whether it's a to-do list, things that happen during your day, and there's like different symbols you can use to identify like, oh, this is a doctor's appointment I have later, or here's an errand I need to run, and stuff like that. I don't know, I might give it a try, but for right now, this type of journaling has really been helpful for me, and I really enjoy doing it, so I plan on continuing that for the foreseen future. So why do I journal and why did I start journaling? The short answer is because I'm very scatterbrained, and the long answer is because I'm very scatterbrained and very anxious, and those two things together don't really allow me to function as well as I know that I can. So especially when I'm going through something, for example, I'm really stressed out at school, or I'm having a really hard time being away from Tristan or my parents or whatever, it just seems like everything in my head is going and it is so jumbled and I literally can't get a thought out, and then I get anxious, but I can't figure out what's triggering the anxiety, and then it's just a whole big mess. And so the biggest thing that I've found journaling to help me with is just being less scatterbrained, and writing things down on a piece of paper really just calms my mind and allows me to see my thoughts instead of them running through my head and driving me insane. Another thing that has really helped me with that is meditation, but journaling and just seeing your thoughts on paper is a very satisfying feeling, and it's so much easier for me to like organize what's going on in my head and try to figure out why I'm so anxious, or what the root cause of this trigger, the thing that is triggering me is. And then also, once I can get to the bottom of whatever is triggering me, I can write about the way that it's making me feel, how it's affecting my behaviors, what I could do differently to avoid the trigger in the future, or what I could do differently to respond in a more positive way to the trigger in the future. So to be honest, Sarah has really helped me with the journaling. She gave me a lot of these prompts that I'm going to share with you when I first reached out to her about it, and then once she kind of gave me a little bit of the information, that kind of got the ball rolling for me. I found what worked for me, what prompts didn't really work for me or didn't really resonate with me at the time, and then also just Googling things. And yeah, a lot of the times my journaling is just whatever's going on in my head, I need to put it on paper, and I usually can work through it that way. So moving along, we're going to talk about some journaling prompts that I use and ones that I recommend you guys follow if you're just getting started with journaling, or you enjoy journaling and you feel a little bit bored, or yeah, if you're just interested in journaling at all, here are some prompts for you. So I think the most basic, if you're first starting out and you just have a plain paper notebook like I do, write down 3 goals for the day and then 3 goals for your week. So if you're doing this on Monday, write down your 3 goals for the day, get your homework done, go to the gym, and spend 10 minutes meditating, focusing on your breath, or whatever your goals are. And then you can write your long-term goals for the week, whatever they may be. If it's you have a project due, or you want to make sure you work out a certain amount of times, or you want to make sure you meditate a certain amount of times, or you want to see your friend, or whatever it may be, just write out your goals for the week. I think that's a really good place to start, because that's giving you a good positive framework to work from there. Another thing, if you don't have a gratitude journal, you don't need a gratitude journal, if that makes sense. So the next thing I would recommend, if you are a beginner journaler, is that a word? Journalist, I guess. If you're a journalist, if you are just starting out, or if you just want to make it more of a habit, goals for the day and gratitude for the day. 3 goals you have, 3 things you're grateful for. Great place to start. So my personal favorite way to journal, and like the prompt I guess that I use, is just writing about what's going on in my life and what's going on in my head. So for example, this is more of a negative example that I would use journaling to help me work through, but say Tristan and I got in an argument about whatever. I whip out my journal and I just start writing. Why are we fighting? What is triggering my anxiety or my anger at this issue? What did I do to contribute to the situation? What has Tristan done to contribute to the situation? How could I respond in the future to make things less of an argument and more of a conversation? This is something that I have been working on so much lately, is when I'm upset, making it a conversation instead of making it an argument. And journaling has helped me so much. I'm able to stop myself before I get mad, write it down, figure it out, and then move along to have a conversation about it. And this isn't just in my relationship with Tristan. This is like when I'm talking to my parents, or when I'm having an issue with a professor or a lab partner or whatever it may be. Journaling has just really helped me collect my thoughts before I spew them out into the world. So there's that for you. So like I said, every morning when I wake up, I usually 9 times out of 10, I'm just writing about what's going on in my life. Even if I'm having a great day, I say I'm having the best week of my life, I'm gonna write it down. Just because I'm not having a hard time doesn't mean that I shouldn't be recording it, because that's the way you can look back on it and see that you are progressing. This next topic / prompt is something that Sarah taught me that has really helped me. If I'm journaling towards the end of the day, I like to do this, and it's what she calls brain dumping. And so you really just want to let it out. Say you're having a really rough day and you've been really hard on yourself all day. You didn't get the greatest grade on your test, even though you studied as hard as you possibly could. You're just really not satisfied with the grade that you received. Brain dump it. And the most important thing when you are brain dumping in this situation is giving yourself forgiveness. It is okay. You are going to make mistakes. You are going to mess up in life. You have to be able to forgive yourself and give yourself that grace. Otherwise, it's just going to snowball. When you're brain dumping, writing about things that you aren't super satisfied with in your life at the moment, be accepting of what's going on. Allow yourself to give you a little bit of grace and forgive yourself for whatever it is that is eating you up inside. Another great thing that I love to do in terms of brain dumping is unpacking old traumas of mine that are affecting me right now. So I can make a whole other video about this, and you guys can look this kind of stuff up online. A great Instagram account to check out, I'll link her down below, is the psychologist, and she writes so much about your inner child. I've learned the majority of the information that I know now about my inner child and all of these things, and reparenting and how you can do it, what it is, what that means, how it affects us now. And so unpacking trapped traumas basically means, let me try to simplify this so this video isn't 45 minutes long. Basically, everything that you experienced as a child from the time you came out of the womb until you were about 8 years old, your subconscious is forming. We really, like, at my earliest memory is probably between 3 and 5, but your subconscious is taking in all of your like everything that's going on around you, whether it's your parents fighting or your grandparents making you lunch or whatever. Your subconscious memory is taking that in, and it is affecting the way that you think right now. I'm not gonna go into this, and a lot of you probably think I sound crazy right now, but look it up because it is real. And the more I learn about it, the more I can understand and see how it is affecting my life now. So this is something that I love to journal about, unpacking my past traumas. And I think traumas is a little bit of a harsh word because I had such an amazing childhood, and I know so many people say that, but I really did. My parents raised me and my sister as best as they could with the knowledge that they have, and I'm not saying that in a negative way because my parents really are amazing and I love them so much. But there are things in my childhood, like seeing my mother worry all the time. This was something that I put 2 and 2 together like 3 or 4 weeks ago. My mom is a chronic worrier. Like, she would verbally worry about me and my sister, where we were at, if we were safe, what we were doing. From my first memory, my mom has always been worrying, and I never put 2 and 2 together that watching her behavior doing that probably has led to me being anxious and me worrying so much. Another example, when I was in high school, if I got in trouble, I did something stupid, my parents would get upset with me, but it would come out as anger. And when I'm upset, I get so angry. If somebody does me wrong, or me and Tristan are arguing, or I'm arguing with my roommate or my mom or whatever, I just get so ungodly angry that it's not healthy. And so that has really been something that I've been working through in my journal, unpacking my anger, where it comes from, why I'm triggered, and why I'm so angry. Journaling has really helped me unpack those things and discover different ways that I can relate to those triggers, and just becoming more aware of my behavior and more aware of the fact that I do get really angry when I'm upset. So that's just a personal example, but unpacking your traumas, talk about things that you experienced as a child that may be affecting your life right now. I just rambled a lot on that, and I probably lost some of you long ago. So we're gonna move on to the next one. This is another prompt that I love doing, and it is an unsent letter. So say you wanna talk to somebody about something, or you're just having some feelings towards somebody else, but you're not really sure how to talk to them about it, or you just don't wanna talk to them about it. It's just a personal issue that you're dealing with, but you feel the need to, it's just kind of like telling somebody how you feel without actually telling them. So you write them a letter about how you feel. I literally write it, "Dear so-and-so," write it out, signed me, and then I leave it in my journal. And it's a really good way for me to get my feelings out there on paper. And a lot of the times, midway through the letter, I'm able to recognize other things, whether it's my behavior, different things before whatever it is I'm writing about that occurred that contributed to this situation, or whatever it may be. It's just a very insightful way to see what's truly going on, instead of spewing your anger or disappointment or whatever it may be at another person. Writing it down first is a good way to get it out and move past it, or just a good way to get it out and then move forward in a conversation with the person. And the last thing that I love journaling about is whenever I have an aha moment, and like a lot of the times it's when I'm listening to podcasts or reading a book and I read something and I'm like, oh my God, I understand this. Like, I get this, this applies to me. This makes so much sense why this, and this happened. I understand now. I always journal about it, because that is like a real true moment of personal growth for me, when I can hear something and be like, oh my God, this applies to my life. I understand. Yes, this makes sense. And then moving forward, because I wrote it down and I really truly connected with that idea, when something like that happens again, where that lesson comes into play, I'm so much more likely to react to the situation and be like, oh, this is why this is happening. Something that I learned recently that was like an aha moment for me was through Oprah's Super Soul podcast, which I love. At the beginning of this year, she did a 10 podcast series with the author of this book that I just got. I haven't started reading the book yet, but I've listened to most of the podcasts that go along with it. It's called A New Earth: Awakening to Your Life's Purpose. But this author, Eckhart Tolle, talks a lot about your ego and what that actually means. And when I first heard it in the podcast, when he was explaining what the ego is, it was such an aha moment for me that I had to write it down. And now when I'm experiencing thoughts, when I'm feeling superior or inferior to somebody or something, I'm like, oh my God, that's my ego. That's not me, that's my ego thinking. So there's an example of an aha moment that you can journal. So how has journaling helped me personally? For the first and most important thing that I mentioned before, it has really helped me organize my thoughts. When I'm feeling very scatterbrained, the first thing I do is pull out my journal and start writing. And it just really helps calm me down, slow down, deepen my breath, and just write. Let it out. Whatever is bothering me or worrying me, stressing me out, write it out. And it's just such a releasing feeling. I guess that's a really good way to explain it. It's just like a release of whatever the emotion is that's building up inside my brain. Journaling has really helped me with that. Another thing that has really helped me do is work through my triggers. So when somebody else's behavior triggers a behavior or an anxious or depressed thought in me, I've been able to work through the fact that that person's behavior is what's triggering that feeling in me. It's not necessarily that the other person is right or wrong or anything like that. It's just, this is how I perceive this behavior and this is how it makes me respond. Journaling has really helped me unpack that. It has allowed me to do a lot of self-reflection, and in turn, I've seen a lot of personal development in myself and just like how I can handle situations and talk to people now. Like I said, the biggest thing that this has really helped you with is, instead of making something an argument, I make it a conversation, which leads me into the very last thing that I wrote down that journaling has really helped me do. But I have let go of so much anger and bitterness that I had inside of me that I would project onto my friendships, my relationship, my parents, myself, my life. It was such a self-destructive thing for me that I would get so angry at myself and bitter about the way that I was performing in my life, whether it was school or social media or my relationships or anything like that. And I've also just let go. I was projecting so much of it onto my relationship with Tristan, and God bless him. I'm not saying he's a perfect person, but God bless him. He is so patient with me. I have grown so much in the past couple years, and not once has he stepped away from my side during that process. He has seen me at my absolute worst, and he has always supported me. And I'm not saying that I'm the worst girlfriend ever, but a lot of the times when something would go wrong in our relationship and there was some sort of argument occurring, I would just get so angry that we couldn't have a conversation at it. It was just a roadblock because I was angry, and when I'm angry, he's not listening, and it was just not good. So journaling has really helped me do that. I've just let go of so much anger in myself that I didn't know that I had, and I feel so much more compassionate and understanding towards people now, which is such an amazing feeling. Yeah, so that is how journaling has helped me. I'm gonna end this video with a couple of tips and tricks and just recommendations I have for you. If you're already journaling or you're interested in starting journaling, here are some things that I've learned along the way and that I wish I would have known when I started. The first thing is, don't feel like you have to write a novel when you journal. Most of my journal entries, if not all of them, are just a page long, and I use like different, you guys can't see this, I use like different colored ink every day, but I just like to keep my things short and sweet. That way I don't ramble and I can get to the point when I'm writing. It's not so much like fluff, I guess. I'm just writing about what's bothering me or what's going on in my life or who I'm writing an unsent letter to or anything like that. Just keep it short. I'm not saying don't, if you have to write more than a page, that's totally fine. I personally just think that a page is just about the right length for me. The next thing that I'm also getting better at, but I found it super duper helpful, is like taking this thing with me everywhere. When I travel, when I go away for the weekend to visit Tristan even, or like go home for the weekend, or I'm going on a vacation, or I'm just going to class, I take my journal with me because you never know when you're gonna have an aha moment. And I don't know, you're just never gonna know when you run into something, like I'm triggered by something or somebody on campus. I ran out of memory, so I'm sorry if this angle is a little bit different, but I'm almost done, so no worries. But yeah, keeping my journal with me always has really been helpful, because if something happens and I'm like, I need to write this down right now, I always have my journal with me. And I do. The next biggest tip that has really helped me is to create a nice routine around journaling. So for me, I do it first thing in the morning. I wake up, I go get my coffee, or I make my coffee in the Keurig, and then I go sit on the couch with my journal and a pen, sit under my weighted blanket, and I drink my coffee, and I just write for like 10 to 15 minutes, whatever's coming out of my head, and then I read. And that's just like a really nice, peaceful, relaxing way to start my day, and I feel like I'm like stimulating my brain first thing in the morning, reading and writing, and it's just a really awesome feeling, and it makes me feel so good about myself. I'm like, oh yes, I got up and the first thing I did was productive. It was a great way to start my day, and it's just really easy for me to stick to that routine because I know how good it makes me feel. That just creating a positive, happy, healthy routine around journaling is going to help you stick with it in the long run. Last thing, and the most important, is don't beat yourself up. You don't have to journal every day if it's not appropriate for your lifestyle. And if you are trying to journal every day and you skip a day or you forget or whatever, it's okay. Please do not beat yourself up. This is supposed to be a self-reflection and a self-development process. It's not to make you feel bad about yourself. It took me a really long time to make this a habit. I would journal like once a week or like once every couple days. And now that I've made it a habit and I do it every day, it is literally one of my favorite things about my day. So that is it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this was helpful. Please do not forget to leave this video a thumbs up, comment any questions or suggestions or critiques or whatever below, but please don't be mean because we are only doing positivity on this channel. Thank you guys so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe down below. I will see you guys in the next one.